The whole narrative that Saul and Ari need Kody is such an obvious excuse. Watching the show again, it's clear how much he uses them as a reason to stay close to Robin, but let's be real, there's a serious double standard going on. Kody constantly says things like, "I can't be away from Saul and Ari," or "they can't survive without me." But where's that same energy for Truly, who's barely older than Saul? Why isn't Truly's need for her father being prioritized the same way? It's almost as if he's treating Robin's kids as the only ones that matter, while ignoring the rest. And then there's Robin, who claims that moving to Utah would be too hard on her kids because of school. But hold up, didn't Janelle and Christine have the same concerns when they left Vegas? Yet it's only Robin's kids who are seen as the ones who can't handle change. It's such a blatant inconsistency. The recent interviews with Robin, where she acts surprised that Saul and Ari are wondering why they don't see their siblings or get birthday cards from everyone, is just mind-boggling. Of course, they're confused. Siblings wonder where their family is, and that's normal. But the bigger issue here is that their father, Kody, hasn't been a constant in their lives like he should have been. If Saul and Ari are asking those questions, it's probably because they feel the absence of everyone else. Meanwhile, the other kids probably wonder the same about their dad. The idea that Kody is staying for his younger kids is just a convenient excuse to stay close to Robin. It's not about Saul and Ari needing him. It's about Kody not wanting to admit that he's sticking around for Robin, plain and simple. It's been this way all along. Even when Janelle mentioned him being there for his younger kids, Kody proudly went on about how that's how it's always been. Meanwhile, I was screaming at the TV, "What about Truly?" Because it's glaringly obvious she's being completely overlooked. It's all part of the same old narrative where Robin's kids are prioritized, and everyone else is just left to fend for themselves. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Reality Nexus X. It's me, Elena, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. So, when are we going to address the obvious? Kody always seemed to have a bit of an obsession with expanding his family. In the early seasons, he was all about getting his wives pregnant, even with the ones he didn't have much of a relationship with. Then, suddenly, things changed once all those cute little kids grew up, started college, and became adults with their own lives and opinions. Gone were the days of being idolized by toddlers, and in their place were grown kids who weren't so easily impressed. Apparently, that wasn't as appealing. Remember when Robin mentioned wanting another child, the little dark-haired boy she had in mind? Kody quickly shut that down, like his interest in having more kids had vanished. It seems like for a long time, he was focused on having as many children as possible. When Mary couldn't have more kids, he quickly moved on to 2 other wives who could. And now, with him saying he never truly loved his wives, it's hard not to wonder if the main motivation all along was the thrill of building a big family. He'd always talked about wanting 20 kids and seemed willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. Just look at how he married a 30-year-old when his other wives were reaching their 40s. Some think it's less about having kids and more about his need for admiration. In the recent episode, he mentioned envisioning all his adult kids living nearby, close enough to keep him at the center of their lives. This expectation explains his frustration when they move away or decide to spend holidays elsewhere. In his mind, he'd always be the focus. Or maybe it's more a part of the cultural and religious beliefs. In certain fundamentalist Mormon groups, big families are highly valued. Some even believe there are spiritual children waiting for parents on earth. Having a large family becomes a source of pride and purpose. For Kody, it might have been both, a mix of personal goals and cultural expectations. Why is no one frustrated with Robin for not reaching out to the original 13 kids? All the attention seems to be on Kody's behavior, which of course has earned plenty of criticism. But why isn't anyone questioning Robin? Didn't she say she wanted a big unified family? Didn't she express a desire to be a bonus mom to the other kids? Surely she has their phone numbers. It's suspicious that she hasn't tried more to connect. At this point, she shares some responsibility for the distance between her family and the OG kids. Yes, Kody bears more of the blame, given that he's their father and was present throughout their lives, though it's debatable just how present he really was, especially with the older kids taking on so much responsibility. So why isn't Robin held accountable here? Or is it that the frustration with Kody just overshadows it? Some people feel that Robin never truly cared about building relationships with Kody's other kids. Others absolutely are frustrated with her, but it's more that she comes off as the stepmom figure, one that never had the close bond Janelle, Christine, or even Mary had with the OG kids. Robin has, for some, moved closer to the evil stepmom label, or at least someone the kids don't have strong feelings toward either way. Many of them don't expect her to be more involved because she was never seen as a mother figure. Take the recent holiday text fiasco, for example. Robin's involvement seemed to stir things up. The kids were clear they wanted their dad, not Robin. While she does play a role here, Kody is the one who needs to rebuild those relationships. Robin was never really part of the family dynamic in the way the other moms were, so she has no real relationship to repair. So many red flags, but let's start with a small one. I'm watching Sister Wives all the way through for the first time, and I'm at the episode where the family goes on vacation to Utah. They decide to stage a pretend wedding for Solomon and Robin, and I'm sorry, but am I the only one who finds this really odd? They seem to think it's cute or sweet, but as a mom, or, just a person, I found the whole thing unsettling. I get that there are way bigger issues in this show, and this may seem like a small thing to be thrown off by, but I can't shake it. It just feels weird, like some bizarre playing pretend moment that left me feeling uncomfortable. Maybe that's an unpopular take, but here we are. Someone else just watched this too, and they didn't mind the fake wedding as much. But what did bother them was a moment a few episodes later. Robin tells her family that she's going to be a grandma, referring to Maddie's pregnancy, and her own family immediately assumed she meant one of her kids, like Aurora or Dayton. That reaction says a lot. It shows that even after all those years, Robin's own family didn't view her as a mother figure to the OG kids. They didn't even think she could be talking about anyone else's children. It does feel a bit inappropriate, especially considering how Robin seems to have attachment issues with her kids. I just don't understand why no one else in the family found the wedding idea a bit off. David really does seem to love Christine. I wouldn't call myself a Christine fan, but she looks genuinely happy with David, and he seems to absolutely adore her. He said he never thought he'd find a woman like her and even loves how crazy she is. He appreciates her bond with her kids and wanted to give her the big wedding she's always dreamed of, even though he'd have been happy with a quick trip to Vegas. He's the exact opposite of Kody, and I can see why Christine didn't hesitate with him. Christine also looks at David in a way we never saw with Kody. Some people think their relationship moved too fast, and normally I'd agree, but Christine has had years to think about what she'd want if given a second chance. When the opportunity came, she didn't hold back. I did wish she'd taken a bit more time, especially for Truly's sake, but she dove right in and was lucky enough to find someone who truly compliments her and is accepted by her children. A great example was in the last episode, when David came to dinner, and Truly felt comfortable enough to playfully shove him before sitting right next to him. Isabel, too, looked relaxed sitting by him, which is a far cry from how awkward and uncomfortable she was around Kody at Mykelti's baby sprinkle. David seems like the whole package for Christine. She's clearly attracted to him, and he brings stability with a solid job, steady income, and an easygoing personality. He raised his own kids on his own for a long time and was single for years before meeting her. When they met, he just knew, and I love that for her. He obviously loves kids and values family. Christine and David seem to be looking at the big picture together. And let's be real, David doesn't make you cringe every time he's on screen, so there's that. Oh, Janelle's recent interview on Real Life with Kate Casey was so frustrating. She pretty much walked back everything she said this last season. If you're brave enough to listen, you'll probably find yourself banging your head against the wall as she talks. It's clear Kody still has a hold on her. After everything she's been through, it's disappointing to hear her say she wanted for nothing and is actually fine with the idea of buying Robin's house. Excuse me while I go scream into a pillow. Honestly, I've always thought Janelle would be the one to go back to him. She's the one who says they aren't together and that she doesn't want him back, yet she's still in Flagstaff, hasn't made moves to fully rebuild her life, and refuses to say she's divorced. I get the feeling that if Kody made peace with her kids and made a few promises, she'd take him back in a heartbeat. Maybe Garrison's situation put things in perspective for her. She's probably exhausted from all the fighting, and maybe at this point, she's decided it's only money. I can't stand her ex and his current wife, but maybe she's reached a point where she's done with the public arguments. Another thought is that she's realized how much the family drama is affecting her kids, especially Garrison, and she doesn't want it to keep impacting them. Maybe she's decided to work with lawyers quietly and keep things private, so the drama doesn't drag her kids into it further. Then again, Janelle and Kody have always had this strong connection. They were best friends for years. She's left him before and come back, so this isn't new territory for her. I wouldn't be shocked if she changes her mind down the road. Janelle has been drawn to Kody since day one, and it seems like that connection is still there, whether or not she wants to admit it. Jealousy and gossip. Good Lord, I'm rewatching the latest episode, and aside from the usual Kody gaslighting, this one part just kills me. He actually asks Janelle why she didn't call him to tell him Maddie was having a baby. Janelle, with all the patience she can muster, tells him that their kids feel estranged from him, and his response? He wonders why. Janelle says there are a lot of nuances, and she can't be in the middle. Classic deflection on her part, but at least she's trying. And then Kody chimes in with his ever-so-enlightened take. Jealousy and GOSIP. Seriously? No, my guy, it's not jealousy or gossip. It's the fact that you've completely abandoned your family. You're not some infallible deity, even though you seem to expect your family to worship you like one. It's wild how deluded he is. His narcissism is on full display. He'll never admit he's wrong. The whole jealousy and gossip line was laughably outrageous, but it's classic Kody. He'll never take responsibility for anything. His mind is so twisted that he'll live in his little bubble, refusing to hold himself accountable, regardless of who's with him or not. And honestly, there's no point in getting worked up about it anymore. What really struck me as ironic, though, was after complaining that Maddie didn't call him to tell him she was expecting, he turns around and tells Janelle to pass on his love to Savannah. Why couldn't he just call Savannah himself? He expects everyone to make the effort to contact him, but he won't do the same for his own kids. It's so telling. Reading a social media post about the lots on Coyote Pass got me thinking, why did Kody legally marry any of his wives in the first place? Kody's name is on all the lots, but Robin, as his legal wife, is entitled to 50% of their joint assets. That gives her some control over things Kody shared with the original 3 wives. So what if Kody had never legally married any of them? Wouldn't that have put all of the wives on more equal footing? If Kody hadn't legally married anyone, could the state of Utah have even charged him with bigamy, since there wouldn't be a legal marriage in the first place? It seems so obvious that I feel like I'm missing something. What am I overlooking? In the beginning, Leon, formerly known as Logan, could have gotten health insurance from their job, and it would have made more sense for Janelle or Christine to have those benefits. Leon was the only child Kody could claim publicly, and I think he was okay with that until Robin came into the picture. Once she did, he suddenly wanted to take care of her kids, claim them publicly, and give them the same level of attention and benefits he had been giving his biological kids. I'm rewatching season 18, specifically the episode where Mary finally breaks away from Kody. But there's one part that stood out when Janelle and Christine were talking about the Coyote Pass lots. Christine mentioned that Robin's name was on her lot. Why is Robin's name on so many properties, especially considering how much the other wives had to contribute to the first mansion? Was this part of Kody and Robin's strategy to build up their assets? I recently started watching Sister Wives, and I didn't know much about the show except the basic concept of sister wives. I'm currently watching the episode where Madison gets married, and honestly, Kody is acting so childish. The part where he insists on knighting Kody at the wedding, it's like he can't stand not being the center of attention. He's incredibly selfish. I can't imagine being married to someone like that. Also, has anyone noticed that Kody gave the same father of the bride speech at all 3 weddings? There were a few small changes, but overall it was basically the same speech every time. And he always made sure to stand right next to the bride and groom, pushing the attention back onto himself. It's almost like he was forcing the spotlight to stay on him. I would love to have been a fly on the wall when Kody watched Robin's interview where she said, "I feel like I'm the idiot that got left behind." I'm really curious to hear others' thoughts on this statement. What do you think she actually meant by it? And how do you picture Kody reacting when he heard her say it? I can't imagine how he'd take it. Would he be defensive, or maybe he's completely oblivious to how his actions have impacted her? I know that most people here aren't fans of Robin, so I'm probably in the minority, but I've been wondering if Robin is really as much of the evil witch she's often made out to be, or if Kody is the one actually creating the animosity toward her. I'm one of 6 kids, spread out over 19 years, and my mom has never hesitated to complain about one of us to the others, especially when there's conflict. She always presents herself as the victim. Growing up, this made it difficult for us to form strong bonds with each other because we were all unconsciously competing for her favor. It's only as we've gotten older and more mature that we've been able to see how much her actions impacted our relationships. I feel like Kody has done something similar in his family dynamic, especially with Robin. Since he clearly prefers his relationship with her, it seems like he favors her in every decision or conflict. The most recent episode even shows him stirring up conflict where there wasn't any. Adding another layer to this, it's a common trope for men to pit women against each other, which results in the women blaming each other instead of recognizing the real issue, the man at the center of it all. I wonder if some of the blame placed on Robin for ruining the family is rooted in misogyny, with Kody failing to unite the family and instead sowing discord. This isn't the only problem, of course. Polygamy itself seems nearly impossible to navigate successfully, but I think the dynamics I've mentioned are worth considering. I'm really interested to hear everyone's thoughts. So there's been a lot of speculation about why Janelle has changed her tune, and I wanted to toss an idea out there for discussion. What if Janelle and Christine's legal counsel advised them to play nice? After all, both have decided to sue Kody, and if they continue insulting him, it could make their cases look petty and vindictive, which might hurt their credibility. But if they take a more amicable approach, it would certainly look more favorable for them in court. It could also make Kody more willing to cooperate. We all know he's a massive narcissist, and Robin isn't far behind. They both hate criticism, and we've seen how they react to being publicly criticized. But now that Christine and Janelle are being more diplomatic, it might make Kody look worse in his future confessionals and in any legal proceedings. If they keep it civil, his rude comments and behavior could be used against him. What do you think? Do we really believe that Christine and Janelle have softened toward Kody, Or are they just playing the game to make any potential legal action smoother? I honestly thought Janelle came across as very Janelle on that podcast. Not necessarily in a negative way, but she's not someone who seeks out confrontation. She's also mentioned before that she wasn't all that unhappy living in the fifth wheel, so I'm not sure she's been as vocal about the things others have been critical of. One thing I've definitely noticed in recent interviews, especially with Christine, is how much she's pushing the narrative of being real and authentic on the show. And as for Janelle, she just seems unsure about everything but insists she got what she needed, except maybe a real father figure for her adult children. I'd also wonder why Miri isn't doing interviews, and why Kody and Robin aren't being required to do them either. I really think they read these Reddit threads, so just so you know, fans aren't buying the Kool-Aid they're selling anymore. All we get is a minute of new content, and the rest is just a repeat of stuff we've already seen a million times. And seriously, for the love of all things holy, can someone pull out the old photo album and send TLC some new pictures? We've seen the same ones for 19 seasons now. Kody's behavior in season 18 is so blatantly narcissistic, it's hard to watch. It's like a constant coping mechanism for him. He's full of contradictions, and the mental gymnastics are mind-boggling. I did a fast-forward rewatch, and the difference in his statements between the earlier seasons and after Christine left is striking. He's clearly hurting, but it's hard to find much sadness in his grief. Instead, there's a lot of anger, blame shifting, and a deep sense of disdain for others, especially his family. What really stands out to me is the way he places so much emotional responsibility on his kids, especially those just turning 18, yet completely fails to acknowledge that they are doing exactly what they've been taught to do, drifting away from him as they become adults. It's like they've been conditioned to understand that once they hit adulthood, they have less claim on him. Now, when they start pulling away on their own accord, he can't see that it's the natural outcome of his own actions. Instead, he blames Christine, suggesting that she's the one poisoning their relationship. It's heartbreaking to see him not recognize this reality, that his children have grown up and distanced themselves because they didn't feel close enough to him. The sad part is that he's refusing to take any responsibility for it, and instead of trying to rebuild those bonds, he wants Janelle's kids to make the first move, as if they're all adults now and on equal footing. But these are his children. He should be the one stepping up as their father, putting aside his pride and trying to heal the wounds he's caused. Instead, there's just more hurt everywhere. I can't believe how entitled Kody is when it comes to his relationships. It's honestly infuriating to watch. At this point, he has to be deliberately ignoring why things have fallen apart. It's been explained to him over and over, and yet he acts like he's completely clueless. He's so used to being coddled and not held accountable, especially when it comes to his relationships with his wives and children. Kody was considered a good dad when his kids were young and didn't have the maturity or experience to question him. They looked up to him because, frankly, they didn't know any better. But now that they're older and starting to develop their own opinions, they're not just blindly following his lead anymore. They're pushing back, and Kody can't handle it. Gabe isn't 4 anymore, Kody. They're adults with their own lives, and it's a natural part of growing up to have a more independent relationship with your parents. And the way he puts zero effort into his relationships, it's infuriating. He doesn't want to adjust to the reality that people need more than just scraps from him. He wants to be allowed to stay in his comfortable, negligent bubble while everyone else just deals with it. When people finally start standing up for themselves and holding him accountable, he sulks. The audacity. I honestly think the pandemic was a huge wake-up call for the Browns, particularly for those who were already done with Kody's treatment. During coronavirus, Kody couldn't hide behind his usual excuses and was forced to face the fact that people were no longer willing to tolerate his neglect. Everyone took their own time to realize that they deserved better than what he was offering. Gabe and Garrison, for instance, didn't stop living their lives, and Kody threatened to kick them out. It became clear that things weren't working, and never would if the dynamic didn't change. Kody will never get those relationships back, because everyone has come to the realization that they can't go back to the way things were. They know they deserve more. The look on his face when Janelle confronted him was priceless. He couldn't even handle the directness of her approach, and that moment just showed how out of touch he really is. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.